Von It's Movie Tech here, and this is. Why do I feel like I've got a lift? This is a review on, well, brief review on Wicked for Good. Finally got around to watching it after the chaos in November for when it first released. I've watched it on telly, didn't get to watch it at the cinema, and yeah, it's it's not as good as the first film. First film was very good. Um, as it finished on that high of defying gravity, and that is, if you've seen the musical and were aware of the songs, that is the best song in the musical for me, and many others might not be for some. But it never reaches off heights again. It's got I'd say the best song in this is No Good Deed. But even when that happens, I think it's about three quarters of the way through the film. You're expecting her to. She sings that, and it's like a big crescendo, a big spectacle in a castle with the flying monkeys. And you kind of expect something really to happen after that, like some real confrontation, but nothing happens in that respect. So yeah, it just obviously it's sang really well by Cynthia Erivo. I mean, she's really a really good singer, as is Ariana Grande. And they both do two new additions to the film. One by Cynthia Erivo, which is, I think it's called "There's No Place Like Home," and then Ariana Grande does "Girl in a Bubble." I don't really know what that was shoehorned in there for. Um, did nothing for the story for me. But I'd say out of the two new ones, the Cynthia Erivo one is the better of the two. But this one just feels a more glum affair, which after the first film you would expect after everything's been laid out. But after having a 12-month gap, it just feels, I don't know. I wasn't emotionally with it at that time again. I didn't watch the first film again before watching this. Maybe I needed to, because I've always said that this would have been better as one film. If it were a 3 hour film, 3.5 hour film with an intermission, so be it. But you would have experienced the full journey in one, um, which I think would have been really better in my eyes. You got for you would have got the full experience. Um, the Dorothy moments, the old characters from the much loved classic Wizard of Oz. Some of it just doesn't work for me on the film. In film, it worked in the musical. It worked perfectly in the musical because it didn't go so in depth into the characters. Whereas with the Tin Man in this, he's very bitter from what's happened to him, um, and he just really wants revenge, kind of, against Elphaba, and that just is, when you relate back to the classic, it's just not. It's the continuity of it, like this gentle Tin Man, who liked helping people, and all he wanted was a heart. Just doesn't work for me. I know him as that, as do many others, and I know this story's come on and they've tried expanding on the lore of it, but you've got to think, before these came along, Wizard of Oz worked absolutely fine. It didn't need a prequel, didn't need a sequel or anything. I know we got Return of Oz, Return of Oz, which works in its own way. It's a very dark film, but it does stray off from what Frank Baum intended, and yeah, it just the Ruby Slippers as well. I mean, I know they couldn't get everything the same as the old film, but just having that little adding that little thing, the ruby slippers being identical from what was in the original film. It's showing like continuity, but it just it felt like two separate things. It just felt two separate things, unfortunately. Um, and it, and I know that this is like a take on like the Wicked Witch of the West being ultimately not what we've perceived her as in the Wizard of Oz, but I'm always going to perceive her as that, because if I didn't, then the Wizard of Oz loses some of its plausibility. Because we've got one of the finest villain performances of all time. But yeah, if you relate it to this film, then mm, she kind of loses a bit of malevolence in the film, and I don't want that to happen. As much as these films have done their thing, yeah. But I think it works really well as a musical. I think it does work really well as a musical. You see all the old characters in shadows and things like that. Because they make a point of not showing Dorothy's face in this, so which is nothing wrong with that. But I don't know why they kept it in such secrecy. Who was playing? Who was playing the part up until it? Because if you're not going to see her, it don't really matter, does it? But yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. If you want to see more movie reviews, then please follow. It's much appreciated. But until then, fans out.